Hello, it's Tuesday. What is it? April 9th. And remember, I mentioned last week that we were not having class today because of the early advising week for public safety pathway, education pathway, as well as business and pathway, business and entrepreneurship pathway. So we are having our panel discussion this evening. So I mentioned if you attend, I will give you extra credit. So I do urge you all to attend because it's valuable information, even if it's not your pathway. Just interesting to hear just some different career opportunities and resources and just experience from people within the profession. And who knows, you may have an interest. Maybe you want to minor in it or add a certificate or something like that. So something to think about and just, get some additional information. So I will share um, the screen so that you can register to attend. So this is the flyer for Professional Studies and Communication Education Week. So here's the QR code to register for the link. And then you can click on each virtual link for the event. Um, and I think once you register, you'll get information on this as well. And then it has the links as well within the QR code. So these are just different activities that we will be discussing throughout the week. But for today, this is the event here, Pathways to Impact. So it's Insights in Business Education and Law. Um, and these are um, our panel representatives that will be speaking, department chairs and division um, program coordinators that will be discussing on their various experiences within these pathways. So go ahead and click on that to attend. Like I said, even if it's not your program, register, I will give you extra credit. If you register and attend, I will give you extra credit. But if not, then just continue to watch the video, this video here, so that um, you will have the information for class. Either way, you want to make sure you watch this information for class. I'll try and briefly go over it on Thursday, but it'll be very quick. So this week we're discussing chapter 5 and chapter 6, reading and note taking, studying, memory, and test taking. So I discussed several times about note taking and the importance of note taking, as well as reading and being able to comprehend what you're reading so that have full understanding of the course material. So we're going to go into that a little bit more in detail. And let me go here. All right. So we talked about time management last week. That was the discussion question. And then the question was, what activities can you eliminate that are time gobbling to help you save time? And who in your support system can assist you with this? And how do you reclaim your time? So several of you came up with some really good responses. And you knew exactly where, you're losing time. And I think pretty much all of us are guilty of this, and that's social media and texting and just internet scrolling. We all do it. It's just something that, this day and age that we all do. So that's an area that we can reduce so that we can reclaim our time. And then those of you all who had a great support system, that's even better because now you have people who can kind of help you along, nudge you a bit when you need to be nudged, encourage you. And that's very important. Some of you all mentioned your friends who, like, you were all in class together. And so you all are helping each other. And you have relatives that kind of help you. So that's great. But if you don't have any of that, you don't have support system, that's fine. That's what we're here for. We could be your support system. Um, so, reach out to your advisors, your instructors. Um, we have like WOW, which is Women of Wisdom. We have DMSI, which is what is it? Diversified Male something initiative. But it's basically a support group for males. Um, and so if you want more information, let me know. I can give you that information. Um, but these are great resources. We have TRIO, which is like a program for first generation students. um, to help you. So there's various resources that we do offer that you can have a support system to help you reach your goals and help you stay on track. So just let me know what you need, and I'm here for you to help you out with that. And then those of you all who already have a support system in place, that's great. Um, Lean on them, ask them for guidance. And when you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help, even if you need help from your instructors, because not asking, that's where we get in trouble because no one knows what's going on until you say something and you don't want to wait till it's too late. So if you need help, do not be afraid to ask for help. Be proactive. All right. So I want to show you this little video. It's just another inspiration video. As you can see, I like Michelle Obama. Just think she's great. From Chicago. I'm from Chicago, South Side. Um, and just, an inspiration. So I just want you to listen to this for a couple of minutes and we'll move forward.
The other thing I tell young people is life is practice, you're practicing, and I tell my girls this every day, you are practicing who you are going to be. So if you're getting up late and you're trifling and you're not getting your homework done, that's what you're practicing.
If you're complaining, that's what you're practicing.
If you're a whiner, you're practicing being a whiner. If you're spoiled, you're practicing that. That doesn't just go away, and so you have to start practicing who you want to be. Do you want to be dependable? Then you have to be dependable. If you want people to trust you, then you have to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
And you have to start those habits very early. It's just like speaking correct English. Don't practice the other stuff because you're not going to get a job that way. So practice who you want to be every single day. And that's what I think kids need to do who don't have.
Okay, so cut it off a little bit. But what she was saying, even for kids who don't have that example for them, find the example that you need and then practice that. And I think I've mentioned before, I'm first generation college student in my family. So I didn't have a lot of examples. A lot of stuff I just didn't know because I didn't know. Um, so I had to learn. I learned from others. I learned from my classmates. Um, and then I had to learn to find the examples that I needed so that I could put those things in place. So, I am big on learning from other people. I always say you can always learn something from someone. Now, you can learn two things. You can learn what to do, and you can also learn what not to do. So make sure you pay attention to what you're picking up on. But like she said, life is practice, and you want to start setting those habits now because they did, like she said, they don't go away. They stay with you. So if you make excuses all the time now, you're going to make excuses when you get that job, and then that could have a negative impact on your performance in your job, as far as your growth, your earning potential, all of that. So those are just things to think about. And I just hope this inspires you. Start being who you want to be now. And then also, um, like I tell my son, also be aware of who you're with, who you're spending your time with, who's influencing you. Because the friends you make now, they may be your friends, the friends you have for the rest of your life, or they may not be. Everyone isn't meant to go with you, but you have to be aware of who's around you and their impact and their influence on you. Um, so I had told my son to make sure he choose wisely when it comes to his friends, because your friends can help uplift you, and at the same time, they can also bring you down. So if you're trying to get somewhere, you're trying to do something with your life, you're trying to grow and progress, but you're around people who are doing the opposite, you may need to reconsider and kind of distance yourself a bit. That's part of life. That's part of growth. Like I said, everyone isn't meant to go where we're trying to go. And sometimes we have to make those hard decisions. Doesn't mean you have to completely cut them out your life, but at this point, in this time, you have goals, you have priorities, so you have to start thinking about that. So you may need to limit your time with those people. You see them here and there, but you got things you have to do. So you have to be honest and take be accountable for yourself and responsible and do what you need to do. All right. So the learning objectives, understanding how to read on a college level, how to be able to make good notes to help study for exams, understand how to manage all the reading you need for college, and recognize the need for different note-taking strategies for different college subjects. So that's what we're discussing today. And so there's two types of reading. There's reading to introduce new content, and then there's reading to comprehend familiar content. To introduce new content, those are that's information that may start off small and increase to a more sophisticated source. So say right now, maybe you're reading a textbook on a certain subject, but then eventually as you get more into your courses and your higher level courses, that may go from a textbook to a peer review, to a journal article. And those are different sources that you will be utilizing at some point in your educational career through going through the library or going online, finding these different sources. But journals and peer reviews are people who are basically considered kind of expertise in the field. So let's just say you're looking up something on communication. Well, these are people who have studied and researched the theories within the discipline of communication. And so they have written different information and content on different aspects of communication, the history of it, what it means, how it has changed, how to define it, how it applies, different theories that may involve communication and the different ways we can communicate. So these are just different, what's the word I'm looking for? Just different resources that provides the information. And so when it says more sophisticated, sometimes that could mean, it may mean that it's more detailed. I say sometimes it's even more dense because it's very content heavy. And so that's something I had to learn, especially when I got to grad school. Some of the things, articles and journals I had to read, I had to keep the thesaurus.com and dictionary.com open because it was a lot of words that I had never heard of, didn't know what they mean. So I kind of had to learn the definition, see what the synonym for it, so that I can understand what was being said. Um, but those are more sophisticated resources, and you'll progress into that. But you won't start out with that. But it's just more in detail on a course topic. And then we have familiar content. And so that's information we already know. And like I said, that may be a book or article. And it's just information or may even provide a different perspective on something that you already know. So it's easier to read. You can be able to understand it. It doesn't go into, a true depth of it. But, you can kind of read through it and get through it and understand it the first time. Sometimes that new content, you may have to reread it to understand it. So those are the two different types of reading. And so we have to also learn reading strategies in dealing with that. So we have to allow for adequate time to read. So we have to set that time aside um, to allow ourselves to read and to be able to understand it. Like I said, when it's more detailed, more advanced reading, you may have to reread it a couple of times to understand it and to even retain it. And then as you're reading, you may be taking notes. So that takes up a little bit more time as well. So we have to make sure we plan that out. And then we want to determine our speed, our reading speed and pace for reading. Some people are able to speed read. I had a sorority sister who was in grad school when she said she taught herself to speed read because being in law school, that's all you're doing is reading. It's a lot of reading. And so she had to learn how to read fast so that she could get through all of her assignments. I had to do the same thing for my master's degree. We had so much reading to do. Um, and so I had to completely learn how to read and just different strategies for reading. I had to learn how to kind of go in and uh, get the beginning, get the end, the middle, the end, and to be able to kind of get the gist of it without really going in detail because some of it was just too much, but I needed to be able to understand the content. Um, and so our instructor actually taught us how to do that. So um, sometimes that's just what we have to do so we can understand. And then set a schedule for that active reading. And then practice recursive reading strategies, rereading it so that we can understand for content. And so for me, that again, rereading it, being able to apply it to something that's familiar so that I can understand it. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are the benefits and approaches to active reading? And so the benefit is basically better understanding and then to be able to rephrase it in your own words. So as you move up in your courses and move to higher course level and upper division courses, those are things you're going to have to do when it comes to writing a paper because you can't plagiarize. And plagiarizing is when you copy and paste and then you put it in as it's your own without citing the information. Um, and even if you copy and paste and cite, you can't no no one will accept an entire paper of copy and pasted. You you want to put it in your own words. And so active reading will allow you to do that because it allows you to understand the information, rephrase it, and make it to where you understand it and then to be able to communicate it to other people. And so question here, do your courses or major have specific reading requirements? Like even in this class, we have reading requirements per chapter, 2 chapters per week. And then even in your other classes, I'm pretty sure you have reading assignments because that's basically what you're being tested on, what's in the reading. And if you're doing an online class, you definitely have reading assignments because it's self-directed. You're kind of teaching yourself based off of what you have read. So it's very important to allow time for reading so that you can comprehend the information to be able to rephrase it, retain it, and then pass exams, or if it comes down to writing a paper, you're able to explain it in a way um, where it makes sense and how it applies to whatever the subject is. And so this here is um, just our will on, again, how we kind of the process that we go through with reading. It says strong readers engage in numerous steps, sometimes combining more than one step simultaneously. But knowing the steps nonetheless, they include not always in this order. So this is a process of how we read. Um, and like I said, it may not be in order, but these are just different phases we go through in reading. So we'll start out with accessing prior knowledge. So that's naturally thinking of something about the topic. Uh, when you read deliberately and actively, you make yourself aware of accessing this prior knowledge. So you may have already been familiar with it as you're reading it. And then asking questions. Excuse me. As you read actively, you should always ask questions about the topic when you're reading. Don't just say the questions in your mind, but write them down because this will help later on. Remember, I was telling you about what is your why? You start out with what is your why, and from there you kind of add more questions. What is your why? Why do you attend college? Why are you pursuing the program that you're in? Well, why do you feel this is the career for you? Well, why do you feel that you'll be successful? So you're just kind of layering it on so that you go more in depth and get more information. So that's why I said don't just say the question, but write it down because that allows you to do a little bit more research to better understand it. All right. And then also, it also helps you remember. So if you do have questions and you're not able to find the answers, then that's something that you can ask your instructor so that you can have better understanding. And then inferring and implying. That's when you read and you take the information from the page on the page and infer or conclude responses to related challenges from evidence or from your own reasoning. So you kind of come to a conclusion based on what you got from the reading or what the reading has stated. And so sometimes, again, that's going to depend on your course, and especially like those of you all who are in criminal justice, public safety, you may experience this a lot because now you may be looking at cases or um, laws where you have to kind of come to a conclusion based on the information that was given. Um, so that's inferring and implying. And then learning vocabulary. Learning certain disciplines to help practitioners in that field engage and communicate with each other. Meaningful distinctions. So remember, I said when I was reading on the master's level, I had to keep the dictionary.com website open as well as thesaurus.com because they use a lot of vocabulary within these readings. And because I'm learning this discipline, I was not already familiar with these words. So I'm constantly looking up what words mean so I can understand what I'm reading. And that was taxing because it was a lot of words. Even like maybe in one paragraph, I may be looking up a couple of words. So that takes time. But in the long run, it helped me better understand it and also increase my vocabulary. So I'm able to communicate more effectively within that discipline. And then evaluating. It tells your people always question and evaluate. This doesn't mean they don't trust others, they just need to verify the facts to understand the topic well. So, again, that's part of that research process where you go through and do the research to either prove something or to better explain what it is um, that you're reading, or if there's like a certain fact or a conclusion. You want to know how did they come to that conclusion and what process was involved. Is it accurate or is this just someone's opinion? Because there's a difference between an opinion and what's fact. This day and age, we deal with that a lot. What is it? What do they call it? Alternative facts, whatever. But everything is I guess birth in facts. Now it's whether or not you do the research. So doing research in school has honestly has taught me how to research even personally when I'm watching the news or whatever, even on social media. I don't post just anything that's there. You know how, we'll see a post and it says, RIP to so and so. And you're like, dang, this person passed, they died. And then if you don't do the research, that may not even be true because all that person's doing is just reposting something they saw somewhere, and it just goes on and on and on. Because we know a lot of people they have said died that was not dead just because people don't bother to take the time to research, and all they're doing is just recommunicating information that's not factual. So those are things we have to think about when we're reading um, and learning information. We always want to make sure that we evaluate it to make sure it's accurate, and then we apply it. When you learn something new, it connects to other knowledge you already have. And one challenge we have is applying new information, applying what you're reading to other learning and life situations that you encounter. So when you learn something, now you can apply it not only in that context, but you can apply it in other things. And that's just part of the learning process. Okay. And we'll discuss that a little bit more as well. And if you have questions, again, make sure you can always reach out to me. So there's different disciplines in college and have different expectations. Um, so strategies for reading in college disciplines, they're skimming, where you're just kind of looking over the information, like I mentioned, how our instructor taught us just to skim over it, beginning, the middle, and the end to get the gist of something, an overview. And then there's active reading, um, where you're reading um, more in depth and you're actually trying to learn and retain information. Um, Skimming allows you to learn just the major points of something, um, and you could take notes and all, but active reading is a bit more in depth. Okay? And so with reading, there's a method called the SQ3R. So SQ is this is an acronym. Remember, we talked about mnemonic devices. So this is an acronym. The S stands for survey. You skim over it, you find the main idea or the main point of the content. What have you learned from the information? And then you question. Think about what you already know about the topic and what do you hope to learn from the text. Um, and what have you concluded within that reading? And then there's 3 R's: read, recite, and recall. So now, after you've skimmed it, you ask some questions. Now you're going in and looking for the answers for what you've read and to go more in depth of what you were reading. And then recite, you are basically, you want to remember what you're learning. So that's that retaining that information. Um, Here it says visual. If you say something out loud, if you see it, um, say a graph or something. If you repeat something, that's auditory. And then reading and writing. That's that read, write, taking notes so that you remember it. And then recall. And that's just recapping the information, going back over what you read, adding more notes and ensuring that you've captured the main points and have identified the supporting evidence and examples and have understood the overall meaning. So make sure you pay attention to this, even take a screenshot of this because you will see this again. But this is an active reading strategy. So it has these steps where you're going in, you're skimming, then you ask some questions to get a better understanding. Now you go back in, you read it, look for answers to the questions you ask. Go in more detail. Now you're really trying to understand the information, and then you recite it. Now you're trying to retain it, and whatever that learning style is. Remember, we discussed the first week what your learning style: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, read or write. You're going to apply that in reciting it so that you can learn it and then recall, going back over that information to make sure you fully understand everything that you had just went over and what you just learned. Okay? So again, you will see this again. So make sure you take notes. This is also in your book too. So, and it'll go in a little bit more detail so you can find it in your book as well from your reading assignment. So I'm going to show you this video here, and this kind of, hopefully this will play, explains the method as well.
SQ3R is a great reading and note-taking strategy. Why do you need a reading strategy? Well, how many times have you picked up a textbook, read for a while, and realized that you've not remembered anything you just read? Using the SQ3R method helps you remember what you read, so you can get wonderful grades and do well in all your classes that test you about information that you've read. You should use this method for any textbook reading and for any online or print articles that you read or use for research in any of your classes. The S is for skim. Before you curl up with a blankie and hot cocoa to read, take a moment to skim over the entire text. Skim means to look something over at a bird's eye view. Look at main headings, bolded words, and any pictures or diagrams. This will give you an idea of what the article will be about. This also helps you know what to expect and hopefully will trigger some background information you might already know about the topic. The next step is to ask questions. Asking questions helps you pay attention better to even the most boring reading assignment, because you are essentially on a mission to answer the questions you have asked yourself. If we have a purpose, we are more purposeful. You should write down any questions you have and turn headings into questions that you must answer by reading. The first R in the 3 R's is to read. You're now going to answer the list of questions you've created by actually reading the text. The next R is to recite. In this case, it is not only okay to talk to yourself, but actually encouraged. Take notes on paper as you read and say the answers to your questions out loud if not too many people are around. Put the answers to the questions you've answered or the important points you've discovered from the reading into your own words. When you put something into your own words, whether in writing or by talking to yourself, you're more likely to remember it later. The final R and the final step in the process is to review. Read through your notes, perhaps highlight or even take additional notes on your notes. Have you ever read through your notes later and realized you have no idea what you meant when you wrote them? Doing a quick review while the reading is fresh in your mind to add a few additional details will prevent that from happening. This is also a fantastic time to talk with someone else about what you've read. Bring it up with a classmate who also had to do the same reading, or bring it up at the dinner table. Your parents will be thrilled when you have something to share when they ask you, "What did you do at school today?" So that is the SQ3R reading method. The more you practice it, the better at it you will become, and the more you will remember when you read.
Okay, so that
SQ3R is a great
so that breaks down the SQ3R method. And so one thing I want to highlight when she discussed the questions, writing down your questions. One thing she said is taking the like your subject titles and turning those into questions. So when you're reading, say, a chapter and it has sub subheadings for each within that chapter, turn those into questions. So whatever that heading is, phrase it into a question so that you you ask yourself, okay, what is this about? So whatever that title is, make it a question and then go in to find the answer. And that's just another strategy to help you better understand what each subheading is about. All right. And so, how can you prepare to take notes to maximize the effectiveness of the experience or the effectiveness of what you have read? So now we're going into note taking. So even with the SQ3R method, that involves taking notes. So now once you've read over the information, you ask questions, and now you're going in to find the answers to those questions. You're taking notes on that. So you want to build on any prior knowledge of a subject. If you want to help discuss trends or patterns that's present in the information, direct yourself towards areas needing further research or reading. Again, asking questions, and then making notes of, okay, I need to look this up. I need to look up these vocabulary words or this statistics or whatever, so I can better understand it. What are some of the strategies that you can employ for better note taking? We all have different, unique, independent note taking habits. Some good, some bad, but note taking can make a huge difference. Again, using my son as an example, I had to go over that with him because he was not big on taking notes in high school. High school came easy for him, to be honest, and he just was able to remember things. But that was not the case when he got to college. So he had to learn how to take notes in college, um, because it's just a lot more information to try to retain. So we just have to be aware of how we take notes, and we're going to discuss different note-taking strategies and methods. Um, and then why annotating your notes after note-taking sessions is critical steps to follow. That means basically reviewing your notes, organizing it to make sure you understand it. Like in the video, she said, if you've ever gone back to look over your notes and you don't even understand what you wrote. And I have done that before, writing, making new abbreviations for things that I've never abbreviated before, and then waiting days to go back and look it over, and I don't remember what I was writing. I don't know what the abbreviation stands for. So I was like, what the heck was this? So that's why we want to review our notes regularly so that we're familiar with it and we know what we wrote. Um, okay. So the 5 R's of note taking. We had the SQ3R, we had the learning style. As you see, there's like list of everything. So now the 5 R's of reading and note taking. Record, reduce, recite, reflect, and review. So during the lecture, we write all meaningful information legibly. To reduce, after the lecture, we write a summary of the ideas and facts using keywords or keywords as keywords, and then we recite that information, either visually, um, auditorily, the read-to-write method, whatever works for you, and putting it in your own words so that you can understand it and refer back to it and be able to recite it. When it comes to like writing a paper or doing a test and there's a short answer, you could put it in your own words. And then think about your own opinion and ideas. Raise questions and record original ideas and then review. Before reading new material, take 10 minutes to review your older notes, skim over the main ideas and the details. And so, just as a note, the best notes are ones you take in an organized manner that encourages frequent review so that you understand it, as I just stated, and you use to progress through a topic or course of study. So you need to be able to develop a way to organize all your notes for each class and keep it organized. Remember I said if you're using notebooks, Keep a notebook for every different class so that it's organized. And your note should always start off with an identifier, like a heading, a date, um, topic, just so that you know what it's about, and any other information that you think um, when you return to look them over that you'll be able to understand, and that will help you prepare for tests or completing an assignment. So there's different note-taking strategies. There's the Cornell method, which is this is the most common, and I'll mention again, same thing with learning styles. I use a combination of note-taking methods. I use this one and then outlining. But Cornell method is basically um, where you have like your main points and subpoints here in the center of the page, and then in the outlines you may have some cues. You may have some dates, exam question, main ideas, vocabulary words, and then down at the bottom a summary. So I take my notes kind of like this, and then just little things that stick out I'll put over here on the in the margins, outside the margins, like a date, or if I have a question or something, I may underline and put question marks after it. That means it's something for me to it's either important or I need to come back and look at it or find an answer to it. So this is the Cornell method. And then we have the outlining method. Same thing, your main topic, subtopic, and you just break it down. So like I said, I use a combination. I start out with the outline, and then I also use the cues on the side for little additional information or little nuggets to add to the topics. And this is another way to help, especially if you're trying to write a paper, to help you organize that paper and help keep your thoughts organized. Then you have a chart or table. So remember those visual learners, this may work best for you. You may be able to put their information in a chart and the what, the who, the where, the why, and the when, and then write it out that way. And that may work for you to remember it that way. Um, and then we have the mapping, um, visual note taking. And then again, this is another visual learner where you kind of have, if you've ever heard the term mind mapping, where you have an idea and you just kind of sprout it out from there. So basically, this is just like an outline. This is the main topic, and these may be the subtopics going around it. So, but it's just a different layout. So if you're a visual person, this may work for you. I'm not that visual. I'm a read or write person. So I am an outline person. For me, this would confuse me, but it may work for other people. So again, knowing your learning style and knowing what works for you, that's the method that you want to implement. And then annotating your notes. So that's going back and making notes of your notes, like I was saying. So if I have dates in my margin, and see how you can highlight, make certain things a different color, put question marks next to something, underline it, or some hearts. So for me, this is where I annotate those things. So like maybe information here, I may underline or highlight or add little question marks to it so that I know to come back and look at it, because either I have to answer it or it's something important. So whatever works for you, underlining, highlighting, um, to draw attention to what it is, to make sure that you're able to follow your information. Put a box around something. That's called annotating. All right, so that's the information for today. So we have our upcoming assignments that's due this Sunday. We have 2 discussion questions this week: reading note and note taking, test taking, and thinking. And we'll discuss test taking and thinking on Thursday. So those discussion questions are due by before midnight Sunday or by midnight Sunday. And then you have your 60 question assessment for your career research project, because we're getting close now. That's what, in about 2 weeks, the career research project due here May 3rd. And then you have the brochure assignment that's due this week. Well, not this week, next week, April 21st. And then we have the final exam at the end. So prepare. Remember, I've been discussing the 60 question assessment all throughout the whole class. So if you haven't already done it, do it now to get it out the way. and then start looking at your brochure assignment preparation. Um, and I'm just going to go right here to um, the brochure assignment. So you want to follow the guideline. Go to the assignment and follow the assignment. So it says, out of these items listed, choose a minimum of 3 topics for you to choose for your brochure that you're going to discuss. It says this assignment is, for this assignment, you will design a brochure or shoot a commercial to assist in the transition from high school to college. Your brochure video will consist of your learning experience in your first semester and ways to avoid mistakes in your second semester. Please add your personal experiences and perhaps a quote from another student. So you're going to talk about 3 topics in your brochure or your video. And this is what you're going to pick from these categories here. And you're going to submit a trifold, 2-sided brochure, or a 60, 90, or 60 to 90-second video. So that's something that you want to start looking at and start preparing. And then let me do one other thing. I mentioned Canva that you can use. Oh, let me find it. To create your brochure. So once again, I'm sharing. This is the website for Canva. So it's canva.com, and they have all kinds of templates in here. So I'm logged in under my account, but you see, these are some of the things that I've created because I had a podcast. So this is some of the flyers, or the flyers that I use for social media um, for my podcast. But they have all kinds of templates. So you want to click here, go through templates, and use whichever template. And there is one for pamphlet somewhere in here. So you want to go and look through it and find which one you want to use. All right, so it's canva.com. And it's free. You don't have to pay for it. That's one site that you can use. And I want to be able to, let me try, if I could show you some examples. Let me just do that on Thursday. I don't want to waste any more time. But let's see. Just show you, because I had some last semester. I had some really great assignment brochures that people turned in. Share this real quick. So this is a student's assignment. So they get the logo, pictures of the school, information, and as you scroll, tips and tricks. Planning is key. The importance of academic advising, note-taking, studying, and they had some visuals here. So that's a simple trifold brochure, but that was a great brochure that they submitted. Let's see, here's another one that someone submitted. I did have a video too, but I'll see if I can find that on Thursday. And so again, the picture of Bladen Hall, school, the information, first year experience brochure, quotes, some of art. There are some typos. So when you're formatting, it may mess up some stuff, but also pay attention to your grammar because there are some typos in this one. But they just have the area. So, but the 3 categories: time management, career exploration, and your responsibilities. So this is just an example of a couple of assignments where people have turned in. All right. So again, start looking at the assignment and pick your categories. Go on to canva.com, try and at least identify a template you want to use. And then so at least you'll have that, and then you can start working on that. Okay. So this is what we have coming up. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. And I hope that you all will attend the events for this week so you can get some extra credit. So Once again, let me do one more share. If you did not get it at the beginning of class, and let's find it here. Do one more share. So this has the registration page, the registration QR code right here, and then the events with the links here. And once you register, you'll also be able to see the link. So for Tuesdays, today's class, this is the event right here, Pathways to Impact, Insights in Business Education and Law. These are our speakers, and then the link to attend the Zoom session, and then this is the QR code to register for it in advance. All right. Any questions? Let me know. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Take care.